Carr had one objective during Kentucky's bye week: get healthy. Coming off one of his worst games of the season, a 4.1 rebound outing versus Alabama, the 6'11 forward practically lived in the training room, undergoing every treatment under the sun, as Mark Pope put it, to get closer to 100%. As trainers worked on his back, Carr worked on his mind.
Yeah, I've never really dealt with anything kind of like this. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of turn the corner.
The back spasms started around New Year's and peaked during Kentucky's loss at Georgia on January 7th, leaving Carr unable to sit down during timeouts. He played through the pain for 3 more games, missing practices to rest and receive treatment to be ready come game time. As Carr said, this was new territory. Before coming to Kentucky, he had only missed 1 college game during his sophomore year at Delaware. He missed his second on January 25th, sitting out Kentucky's loss at Vanderbilt. Carr has worked his way back into action since then without setbacks, but balancing his desire to play with the limitations of his injury has been one of the biggest challenges of his career.
It certainly is a difficult thing, and it really goes up and down with how you feel about it. Every human nature to think about, oh man, what would have happened if I was feeling 100%?
I get chills in my body just thinking about somebody that's willing to sacrifice, and like he was actually worried that he was hurting us and not helping us by playing while not being 100%. So to have somebody that cared that much about his brothers and about Kentucky and about us as a family, I mean, it's hard to see him go through it, but you respect it because he can also just sit out and say, I can't do it anymore.
Once you get to know Carr's story, it's not surprising at all. It's how he and his siblings were raised.
The motto was always, cars don't quit. Doesn't matter what you're doing, cars don't quit. They all took that to heart.
An old toilet handle used to hang from the chain link fence outside the dugout where the Carrs played Little League. Phil, the coach, used it to teach his players to flush away their mistakes, whether it be a strikeout, an error, etc.
Yeah.
And you had to flush it. If something happened, you flush it,
it's gone.
Flush it and it's gone.
That lesson extended far past the diamond for the Carr children, who excelled in a variety of sports growing up. Alexander, the eldest, was the only one of the 4 who wouldn't go on to play at the Division I level. Andrew followed in his father and uncle's footsteps by playing basketball at the University of Delaware before transferring to Wake Forest and then Kentucky. Lizzie, the only girl, started her volleyball career at Purdue and transferred to Kentucky in December. Peter, the youngest, is a freshman basketball player at Virginia Tech. From the start of his freshman year of high school to his sophomore year, Carr grew 7 inches, which led to Osgood-Schlatter disease, literal growing pains in his knees.
There's days, I'm just walking around high school and, the stairs were my worst enemy. I couldn't even walk upstairs. Some days you're waking up in the morning and you just feel taller every single day.
After playing basketball in the winter, his knees hurt so badly he had to eliminate another sport he loved. During his sophomore year in 2017, Carr tried out for AAU. Most high-level Division I players play travel ball from the moment they can dribble a basketball. Carr was late to the show, but Phil said that may have turned out to be a blessing because it helped his son avoid some of the bad habits that you sometimes see in AAU play. Phil remembers the tryout distinctly.
The first evaluation that he was in, that they were like, hey, you need to move over to this floor, play with these guys. And you could tell that they immediately recognized his ability.
That validation served as fuel for Carr to dig in harder, a cycle that continues to this day.
At that point, it was everything kind of clicked. It was the first game of my sophomore year. I was coming off the bench and I had 25, and that kind of really kick-started, at least in me, the confidence that I was really able to be a talented, really great basketball player, and kind of everything took off from there.
Going into his junior year, Carr started hearing from colleges. Coaches attended his games, and the local media started to take notice. That season, he averaged 19 points and 7 rebounds per game for Westchester East, earning third-team All-State honors. After that AAU season, Carr received his first offer, opening his mind to basketball being something more than just a high school hobby.
Once it became a possibility for me, I think something was able to click in my mind that I could really do this, and it kind of fueled that hunger and the drive to be able to do it.
One offer stood out above the rest. In November 2019, Carr signed with Delaware, ready to follow in his father and uncle's footsteps. The Delaware Blue Hens have always been a part of Andrew Carr's life.
You see your dad out there in the middle of a basketball game, it really makes an impression on you as a little kid.
As much as the idea of Andrew attending his alma mater appealed to Phil, he encouraged his son to make his college decision for himself.
I was certainly not pushing Delaware on him at all. That was one of the things that I was like, don't do this because you think I want this. This has got to be right for you.
Even with all the obstacles presented by the pandemic, Carr did well that season, playing in all 15 games and starting 10. He averaged 8.2 points and 3.6 rebounds and won Colonial Athletic Association Rookie of the Week after scoring 39 points total in back-to-back games versus Hofstra. The Pride ended Delaware's season in the CAA tournament quarterfinals, but the next year, Carr helped lead the Blue Hens to the CAA tournament championship, clinching a spot in the NCAA tournament for just the 6th time in program history.
I think that's probably, will always be one of the best moments in my life, coolest moments in my life. When my sophomore year, we ended up winning the league. And so after that game, coming down, see how happy my dad was, be able to share a moment right there was really special, just because of what, the Delaware meant to him and when he was able to go and play there.
The moment on the sport's biggest stage left Andrew wanting more.
I felt like, I was playing the best basketball at the end of the season, played really well in the tournament and as well into the NCAA tournament. And, I knew, like I said, when it first hit me that I was able to play Division I or was getting those looks, the drive and the hunger started to really dig in for me. And so I felt like the next steps for me was to be able to try and take a big leap into the a high major level.
Phil admits he had some hesitations when Andrew told him he wanted to enter the transfer portal. Those were put to rest when Andrew shared his plan, which included a potential third school if he needed to maximize his NBA draft stock.
I give him credit every time the conversation comes up for betting on himself.
Carr entered the transfer portal on April 6, 2022. Less than a month later, he committed to Wake Forest.
So I was really able to kind of grow in my game, I felt like, as a player, and certainly the weight room and the nutrition and the things that we were able to do at the higher major level also, made a big difference in, what I wanted to do. And so being able to take that next step and be able to, perform and prove that I felt like I belonged at the higher major level was awesome that first season and at Wake Forest.
Off the court, Carr pushed himself to grow in other areas.
I think for me, a lot of my leading, especially, it was my first time, I was a new person on campus, so it was still an older player on the team with more experience. But for me, a lot of it became off the court leading.
It worked. When the team started practice in September, Carr was voted one of 4 team captains, a rarity for a transfer.
And so I really tried to learn everybody and on a personal level. And so when you're able to do that, it just grows the bond between, you and them. And then also it was really cool for me to be able to kind of be a middleman for other teammates to be able to try and connect them as well.
Carr started every game during his 2 years at Wake Forest, averaging in double-figure scoring each season. During the first month of his senior season, he reached the 1,000 point and 500 rebound mark of his career. The Demon Deacons were on the wrong side of the NCAA tournament bubble in both of Carr's seasons. After graduation, Carr had 1 season of eligibility remaining. He entered the transfer portal on April 15, 2024, and also declared for the NBA draft to figure out what he needed to do to become a pro. 3 days prior, Mark Pope was named the new head basketball coach at Kentucky. Phil Carr will never forget the first time he met Mark Pope.
And conversations with Andrew and with Pope was very encouraging and exciting. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, but who's going to be on the team?
Pope bounded in the door, a 6'10" ball of energy. Instead of just sitting down in the living room and talking with the family, he had something to show them.
Downstairs, and we watched film, and Coach Pope was so prepared for the way Andrew played at Wake Forest with film, breaking down the film. We see how you play. This is how we see you playing at Kentucky, and Pope's like, you're exactly what I need for our team, and we have to have you. You need to come. You need to come to Kentucky. So that part was, that took a lot of the concerns or fear or unknown out of the equation. That was very exciting.
There's a reason Pope was so prepared. When Carr entered the portal and Pope watched his tape, he knew that the versatile big man was born to play for him. Those feelings were cemented during their first Zoom call, during which Pope said he realized the two were kindred spirits. Carr had done his research. Like all Kentucky fans, he watched the YouTube video comparing Pope's offense to a video game. But there was something different about hearing Pope describe how he would fit into it. During an uncertain time in his life, it made his confidence bloom once again.
Oh man, it's the best. It's the best when a coach says that. I think it solidifies for someone who's trying to figure out how you're going to fit in, that it is going to work out. When a coach is that committed, that confident in your abilities and the way that they fit into what he wants to do, it makes you think that there's no way that this could possibly fail.
By now, you know the story of Pope picking the family up in Bowling Green after travel delays forced them to fly to Nashville and rent a car to get to Lexington. You haven't heard how panicked assistant coach Cody Feger was during all of it.
We were telling Cody, look, I think we're gonna miss our connector, and he was like, no, Pope is gonna kill me. You gotta make it here. You gotta make it.
UK staff and Andrew's mom, Darby, an experienced traveler, quickly booked the cars on alternate flights to airports near Lexington, getting on the flight to Nashville just as the doors were closing. They told Feger the good news. He insisted they let someone come pick them up or meet them along the way. They agreed to the latter, having no idea it would be Pope.
So we drove to a Shell gas station in Bowling Green that was, on the side of the road, and he had a little care package of snacks and drinks. Wanted to know what our favorite flavors were. He's like, "Come on, let's go." You can just hear him saying, "Let's go." Now that I've heard it so many times. But
for him to just be super, just impulsive in the way of he heard about what was going to happen and he was like, "Nope, I'm getting in the car," and he just started driving. I just knew deep down that how much he really cared, not only just about like Kentucky and things, but just specifically about me as well.
By the time they pulled into Lexington at 4:30 a.m., Carr had a very good feeling about what lay ahead.
I kind of knew in my heart that it was probably Kentucky.
Carr announced his commitment on Sunday, April 28th, just 13 days after entering the transfer portal.
Oh, I loved Kentucky growing up. For me, specifically, I got a couple of memories of the 38-0 team. I was on spring break with all my family down in Florida. We were visiting my grandparents and watching the Wisconsin game and being so upset and everything. So there's like that is kind of really where it started, and continued to follow through the rest of my middle school and high school years, and was always rooting for him. And so if you told me back then that I'd be playing at Kentucky, I'd tell you you're crazy. And even now I still have surreal moments of thinking about how in the world I possibly got here. So.
Being one of 12 new guys on a roster coached by an entirely new coaching staff, that's a completely different challenge, one that Carr was ready to embrace, even if he had a few butterflies.
I was really nervous about it. just in general is one of the things as you're going through the process, and you're like, we don't have a team, you know, and that was the big thing this year, trying to figure out whether we wanted to go here or not. And so, you know, I've been a part of a couple of teams with 6, 7 people, new people. So I knew how difficult it was.
That's one reason why Carr decided to live in the Wildcat Coal Lodge that summer instead of an apartment like many of the older players. That's where he first earned the nickname of Team Dad, both for the advice he would give his younger teammates and his initiative to organize team activities separate from what the coaches put together.
You know, being able to be with people who are away from home for the first time, you get to see how they go about their laundry, how they clean their room, how they do all of those things that you gotta learn when you get out of the house for the first time.
Alvin Brooks III got to know Carr during the recruiting process, but it wasn't until the big man got to campus that he realized just how integral he would be to this team, both on and off the court.
He's mature beyond his years. I know at the same age, I wasn't as mature as him. So to see how mature he is, and he's one of the big pieces of why our puzzle works, because he's constantly communicating with guys, constantly bringing guys together, and not only on the court, but off the court as well. So that's a huge advantage for us.
Brooks said Carr has the dad role down, even with his game day wardrobe.
I mean, he comes to the games in pajama pants. I mean, not many people would do that. You look at the rest of our players, you know, most of them are wearing nice clothes, you know, just trying to maybe impress somebody. Drew's like, just come in pajama pants. So I think he's secure with who he is, and, you know, I don't think he takes it personal. I think he takes it as a chance to where, you know, he's a mature guy.
On the court, Andrew Carr was working on making the most difficult jump of his career thus far. Where better to do that than at Kentucky, in the hardest basketball conference in the country?
You know, any way you look at it, Kentucky is the top of the top in basketball, and so if you're looking for another step up, like from Wake Forest, you know, I did the jump from Delaware to Wake Forest, and now if you're going to do another jump, you know, Kentucky is the mecca of college basketball. So I was really looking forward to trying to be able to push myself again, and as you can see this season, the SEC is the best conference in all of college basketball, you know, and so being able to go against, you know, the top level talent, be able to, you know, try and achieve, like I said, my goals of going to the NBA. I think trying to be able to come into this conference, be able to prove I could defend the super athletic, the strong people that you're going to run into here in the SEC.
That journey started in the weight room. Carr has put on 40 pounds in college. At the beginning of the season, he was listed at 6'11", 235 pounds. To hold his own in the SEC, he knew he needed to add more muscle.
From the beginning to now, I think Coach Randy Towner, our strength coach, has done a great job as far as helping them with little details and being scientific with, okay, this part of the body is a little bit stronger than this part of the body, so let's even it out. And Drew has come in and done a lot of extra reps with trying to make sure that he's ready for the speed and the physicality, and so he spent a lot of one-on-one time outside of the lifts with his teammates, and I think that's helped him prepare for the SEC.
Carr picked up Mark Pope's unique system pretty quickly. Brooks calls him a sponge for how he can take feedback from a film session and apply it to the very next practice or game. A very, very rare ability, but there's one part of it that's still a work in progress.
I would probably say shooting a 3 at like 26 on the clock. So I've always been my whole career like, you know, trying to get the best shot possible. And so, you know, I think it took, and I'm not even there all the time at that point yet in all possessions and things like that, but certainly has been a point of emphasis for me coming in from the summer, being told you have to shoot this shot if it's open because we might not get another good look.
Carr averaged 3.2 three-point attempts per game during his first year at Wake Forest and 2.8 in his second. That average is down to 1.6 this season. Part of that comes from playing alongside so many good shooters, but Pope wants Carr to be one of them, calling on him to be more aggressive from the three-point line. It's advice the entire team could heed, as Kentucky's shot volume continues to be below Mark Pope's goal of 30 three-point attempts per game.
Asked him that question, and he said, learning to shoot a three when it's right there and there's 26 seconds left on the shot clock,
Yes.
It's really hard for him.
Yes, really hard. And I showed him, like, okay, you've passed it, and somebody else have shot it. How many seconds went off the shot clock? Maybe 3. So what's the difference between your open shot and their open shot? There's not a big difference. And so I think when you program your whole life to move the ball, it's kind of a hard habit to break in a couple months. And so we're trying to continue to help him with that habit.
All that said, Brooks can now see why Mark Pope thinks Carr is meant to play in his system. When he studied his film during the recruiting process, Carr's versatility stood out. In the months since then, Brooks has learned just how much Carr can stretch the floor and be a matchup nightmare.
Sometimes when he catches it in the post and he just stretches out and dunks it. It's like it's like I can't remember the cartoon where your arms just keep going and going and going, and it's just like wow, like we don't practice that. And so having a chance to watch him do that, and then just him having to be 6'11" and can shot fake and put it on the floor and not only make a play for himself but make a play for a teammate. Like, to see someone his size do that, I think that stands out a lot.
More important may be the things that don't show up in the box score.
He's also very selfless, to where like he makes a lot of winning plays without the basketball, and that's the sign of being a true professional, because most of the time you have the ball in your hands 5 to 8% of the time. So what plays are you making that's going to help the team win the 95 to 98% of the time you don't have the ball? And he does a lot of that for us.
It's mid-October, and Kentucky just wrapped up its annual blue-white scrimmage. Mark Pope and Andrew Carr walked into the media room at Memorial Coliseum to talk to reporters, and as they got ready to sit down, Pope told Carr to give the opening statement. Carr did a double take, turning to his coach. Really? Pope nodded, allowing the Graduate Center to man the mic. It was a small moment, but a meaningful one for Phil, who was watching from across the room.
He didn't stammer and didn't know what to say. He was like, okay, fine. Kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, okay, which I thought was also a confidence that, that obviously Mark had in Andrew, but just how alike they seem to be.
Carr also got the honors after Kentucky's win over Duke in the third game of the season, one in which he scored 17 points and grabbed 6 rebounds, making several key plays down the stretch to give Pope his first statement win as Kentucky's head coach. The similarities between Pope and Carr are impossible not to notice at this point.
The thing for me is I try to understand Coach Pope. I'm really trying to emulate exactly what he wants into everything that we're doing and everything that I'm doing. So if it does seem like that is probably why, and it's not just on accident. So
those who cover the team joke that they're morphing into the same person, right down to how they draw the vowels out in their many, many superlatives.
Do you find yourself saying beautiful more and more?
Special, beautiful, the most amazing person I've ever met in the whole world.
Another trait that Carr and Pope share, authenticity. Brooks said that the Carr that fans see in media opportunities is the same Carr that he sees every day. The same goes for Pope.
I think he kind of is who he is. I think he's kind of who he have been in front of the cameras is who he is. He's not like a separate person off camera. So I think they kind of know who he is. He's a selfless person. He's a funny person. And he kind of is who he is. Like, Coach Pope comes and says how he feels to cameras. He does the same thing. I think a lot of people have been taught to not do that, but they kind of like, hey, this is what it is.
Brooks thinks he'd do well following in Pope's footsteps, even in Lexington.
I can actually definitely see him as the head coach of Kentucky one day. Like, he's that type of, he has that type of personality. He have that type of, just IQ. He have that type of just making everybody become one. He's just, if he decides to coach, he's going to be a great coach. I don't know if he will, but he definitely have those qualities.
Carr reached another milestone in adulthood this season. On December 22, 2024, he proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Genevieve Johnson.
She really means so much to me, and now she's my fiance, which is pretty special, and it was the most important decision in my life, and I didn't mess that one up.
Around that same time, Carr reunited with another important woman in his life, his younger sister, Lizzie. Lizzie transferred from Purdue to Kentucky between semesters to join Craig Skinner's volleyball program.
I knew a lot about Kentucky because of him in different ways than I think people, like other people would. So I knew a lot about, Kentucky as a university and Kentucky athletics and how amazing BBN is. And I know it's a different level for basketball, but still, really great support system and fan support and all of the other things that just how well they treat their athletes. And Coach Skinner did a really good job presenting volleyball to me and what volleyball was here.
After several months in Lexington, how did Andrew describe Big Blue Nation to Lizzie?
I would say there's a lot of words that you could use to initially describe them, but I think that they're educated and energetic and die hard, and I think just the mass number of them as well can catch you off guard. You don't necessarily know that part going into it.
Lizzie talked to several schools after entering the transfer portal. However, Kentucky just felt right.
We went to dinner one night and Andrew was not with us. And the waiter looked at Lizzie and said, "Are you Andrew Carr's sister?" And she's like, "What? Do I look that much like him?" And he was like, "Well, no, but I saw on social media that you transferred to Kentucky, and I saw on the reservation book that the table was reserved under Carr, so I kind of saw maybe that this could be it,
Lizzie comes to Andrew's apartment for dinners and to work on puzzles and Lego sets, a family pastime. He texts her to see how practices and lift sessions are going. She teases him for playing dumb when he's feeling lazy. Typical sibling stuff, but at a very cool and unexpected moment in their lives.
He's the first to, offer advice and be there to help you and care for you, but then is just like, now he's actually here. It's not just, he watched the game and then his text, sending me a text like, "Hey," and says something or whatever. It is there for me. It's now on a more personal level, which is cool.
Fittingly, the first time Lizzie and Andrew ran into each other after she moved to campus was in the training room. It's been his second home since back spasms started bothering him around the first of the year. Thankfully, Carr has turned a corner with his back issues in recent weeks thanks to a new treatment plan featuring injections. He played 23 minutes in Kentucky's loss at Ole Miss on February 4th, finishing with 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. Foul trouble limited him versus South Carolina, but he had 9 points, including a 3 rebounds, and a block in just 14 minutes.
Yeah, it is definitely tricky, and the muscle spasms are things that they zing you, and you're like, ooh, that can get you. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think he's managing it pretty well. He's pretty level-headed about it. He's recognizing the big picture and that he's got to take care of himself. So, and so is the team, by the way. And I think if they asked Andrew if you want to play, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm playing." And it's them saying, no, not today, because he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely playing." So
the toilet handle is long gone. Phil said it probably went out the door with the Little League baseball equipment, but it still exists in Andrew's mind, according to Lizzie.
Andrew is very good at, even after a loss, like he'll look at you, he'll give you a little bit of a look for a second, and then he's back to, positive Andrew or regular Andrew, whatever you want to consider it, and he's very good at being able to turn the page and move on and flush it and be present in the moment.
Now that he's approaching full health, he can help steady the Cats as they head towards March. Brooks is confident that Carr's best basketball is still to come.
He can make some plays that we'd be like, whoa, some things he does we don't teach. And it's just a matter of him playing basketball for however many years he's played, and we getting a chance to benefit and having a front row seat to seeing sometime Andrew at his greatness.
Throughout his career, Carr has been fueled by his best performances. With 8 regular season games remaining and the SEC and NCAA tournaments still to come, he's ready to flush away this tough chapter and help the Cats reach new heights.
All of those moments have really, they keep stacking on top of each other. Of course, this year, with what we've been able to accomplish so far, again, that still just stacks you up. It just leaves you wanting more and wanting more. So.
Wherever the road ends, Phil will be there with the rest of the Carr cheering squad, waiting to embrace his son.
I think he understands that how quickly things go, and being able to look back at your son or your kids being able to accomplish different things, you realize how special the moments are, and that you're going to be looking back at these moments. So kind of the advice that he would give him most is just being able to stay present and really embrace what's going on in your life right now. So
Well, that seems especially poignant given where you are in your life.
Certainly, yeah, certainly. You got, of course, a lot going on, but just some amazing things that, like we've said, would have never thought could be possible, and now we're here.